What's up, guys? Welcome back, man, to another episode of the Sim Standard Hangout. Back in the basement, guys. My wife was off tonight, so back to the basement momentarily. As you can tell, I haven't gotten everything set up correctly. Got the camera all over the place. I know it's crooked and all that, but who cares? But anyway, guys, man, we hope to have another great show for you guys tonight, man. We will have Majesty. You guys may know him as PX1Sports. He's definitely going to come on and we're going to, kick the you know what. We're just going to talk about Madden, everything Madden. I'm sure we'll have some great conversations. And first and foremost, we'll go around the room, see how everyone is doing, check on everybody's week. I'll give you my thoughts on the the brutal Patriots game against my Steelers. And then we'll get PX1 on in here. And, I'll shoot him his invite. All right, man. First and foremost, Smitty, man, how was your week? How's everything been going? And anything else you want to speak on before we get started?
No, man. Well, as far as the championship games are concerned, I mean, it basically was the complete polar opposite of what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be two blowouts, and then and the two squads that went were the teams that I basically did not want to go. I wanted it to be, Pittsburgh and Green Bay. But what's even wilder was, like what I know Sim already touched on it in his video, but talking about, Antonio Brown maybe rolling out and Ben up here contemplating things. I'm like, man, that's pretty heavy right there. So I'm like, them cats need to go ahead and lock it up and just stay in there, man. Like, I mean,
man.
Franchise. I mean, Ben, you won two chips there, and to say hang it up already, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this would be what, his 10th or 11th season if he comes back next year. But
no, this would be his 14th season going into 14th.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Never mind. No, I'm getting the years mixed up. No. Yeah, he's been there for a good minute. No. I mean,
think about all them injuries.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Blasted, man. So
yeah.
I'll speak on it, though. Go ahead, man. I'll speak on it.
But no, I mean, that's just briefly, what my thought, my whole thing was. I mean, I think it'll be an interesting Super Bowl. We'll see. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things match up between these two teams. Atlanta and the Pats. They only have a lot to say on those teams, respectively, as far as personnel, like from tip to the bottom. But I will say though, as far as the Pistons are concerned, because I know in a minute it's going to be full blown transition to the basketball side. But I will say that, they still need to establish chemistry. Drummond needs to learn to take some pride in playing some dang on defense. Like, seriously, this dude just gets reamed and just raked over on defense. Like, you're 6'11", 270 plus. And it's like you just have zero presence in the paint all of a sudden. Like, no, he can play defense. He's shown that. But he's looking less and less. He's looking more of a flake than an actual threat. I mean, in a minute, you're going to have guys circling the calendar like when he comes to town. Just like they get ready to eat. Like, he'll get you some rebounds. He'll get some boards. But like, he'll get you some boards and he'll throw down some oops when the opportunity presents itself, but he needs to transition that athleticism to the defensive side. Get stronger and use his quickness and tenacity on that defensive end. Show some grit. I mean, it's not like he can't do it. He definitely can. I mean, man, at least he comes away, well, I wouldn't say full-on consistency, but he gets, at least one or two steals almost on a nightly basis. So, along with getting 13, 14 points and nearly 14 boards. Like, he can't, if he just packages it all together, Pistons will be in much better shape. because it all starts from within. He's the main guy. I mean, mainly because of the pay, but when you get paid that kind of bread, you got to step up and be a leader of the team. You got to lead your squad. And you got to show. You got to start setting some examples. Even though he's a young guy, he's only like 23 years old, but still, you chose to take that bread. You gotta everything that come with it. You got to step up and accept, and you got to step up. He's got to work on his offense as well, of course. But all in all, like our team needs some real chemistry, and I'm upset with Stan because he's not playing our rookies and our young guys the way that he should be. We would be a much better squad if those guys would just get a chance to get on the floor. But he treats like I don't like it when some NBA teams in general, just act like the young guys that they have, like their team is so good they don't need to put those rookies on the floor. Like it cracks me up, like unless you're Golden State, you don't need to play rookies. That's really much it. I mean, that's the only team I would give that exceptional rule to. But other than them, no, you need to be playing all of your players, especially the Pistons. They definitely need to, because look where we're at. We're sitting in ninth right now. But I mean, we easily, if we went on like a 3-4 game win streak, we'd be right in like either 8th or 7th. So I mean, that's how bad it is in the East. But they gotta do way better than what they're doing. So, but I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, man. Well, we check on AZ. What's going on out there in Tennessee, man? How was your week?
What's up, man? Hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm in the car. Just got off work, so man, week was good. It's been unseasonably warm in Tennessee. So it's been like 60 degrees here, man. For January, that's unheard of. So, it's been nice and pleasant weather. As far as the championship games, I'm with Smitty. I wasn't expecting the outcomes that we got. The two teams that I wanted to go end up not going. So now we got a Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl. And my whole thing is, I just want a good Super Bowl. We were treated to a great national championship that came down to the final play for college football. So I want a good Super Bowl to end the football season right. I just hope Atlanta doesn't lay an egg. You know what I mean? Because they are lay an egg type of team throughout their history. True enough, they've been great in the playoffs and great this year. But I could just see them coming out and being a team that's like gets the doors blown off of them. Or not covering Chris Hogan and letting Tom Brady throw flea flickers on them. Who knows? We'll see. But I just hope it's a good game.
And you talking about the Falcons or the Steelers? Because that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, but see, now the Patriots will do that to you. They'll lull you to sleep, period, no matter who you are. They don't care, that it was the Steelers. They'll run blunt, give you the same look 3, 4, 5 times, and then they're going to go up top on you and try to get Chris Hogan or, Mitchell or somebody a catch. So I just hope, like I said, it's a good game. I don't want to – I'm just going to keep it 100. I don't want Tom Brady to win another ring. I'd rather see Matty Ice win a ring. Tom Brady got enough rings as it is. It's sad that that's how it is. In America, we root for the underdog. And the Patriots were once the underdogs. But now, that they've gotten 4 championships and continued greatness, you root against that. I mean, unless that's your team, I don't really think that America is going for the Patriots. But we'll see. Like I said, I'd like to see Matty Ice get a ring just because, he's been at it for a long time and been down there and been one and done in the playoffs. It would be nice to see Atlanta actually show up in the Super Bowl because the Dirty Bird Falcons got the brakes beat off them by the Broncos when they played.
Yeah.
And that's why
I
hope they don't go out there and lay an egg. Because I don't want to see a lay an egg Super Bowl. I want a tight, competitive game. It doesn't have to come down to the last play, but at least can it be within a score? You know what I mean? A game that's within reach. So we'll see. what happens. I don't know if y'all watch it. I'm glad they brought back the skill stuff for the Pro Bowl. That stuff is going on now. And brought back the AFC, NFC format. I appreciate that as well. Just to have some pride in the conference and not have this whole fantasy football aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to that. And all things that lead up to the draft. Like, I'm all over stuff. Like Senior Bowl, I'll be watching that. And anything else, leading up, Combine coming up, Pro Days. This is football year round for me. So that just sums it up. Hopefully we get, I don't know, Pro Bowl is always garbage in terms of how they play it. So we'll see what happens with that. But looking forward to the Super Bowl. Not looking forward to football season being over with no more football on Sundays. But, it's such a depressing time. But, it comes back around quickly. So hopefully, like you said, we still got the leagues going, and that'll keep us, going in the football mind state, man.
Yeah, man. It is a very sad time of the year. Majesty, I'm combing through our DMs, just trying to pull your email address. So once I find it here, I'll send you the link, get you in. I think I found it here. It's going to be your Gmail address. But yeah, man, just to reflect on the game. I mean, I did a message to the Steelers. Some of you guys may have seen that. I did Terrible Towel Tuesday. It's just, have I not been saying this all year? And I know my fellas here know that. Other people who follow me know that. I've been saying it. I do not trust that defense. I don't trust the secondary. And people, and I know Azure and Smitty will know this because I've heard you guys both complain about this. Some people are football fans, and they are a fan of their team, but they don't really necessarily know football. Because as soon as you start losing, everybody seems to have the reason why you lost. They want every coach fired. They want this scheme to change and all of this and this and that. Now, I wanted to say this quick again about the zone and man. Yes, I agree. I wish the Steelers would have maybe come out and tried a different look. However, why does man coverage work for teams? Because people always give me these teams, guys. They always say, Denver does it. The Seahawks can do it. I'm saying, okay. So now the Seahawks defense didn't look as good this year because they don't necessarily have the same corners. They do still got Sherman and when Earl Thomas went down. But let's talk about Denver for a moment. Why does man coverage work so well with Denver? They have two top-notch corners and a third. And guess what else they have? Von Miller. When you run man coverage and you have dogs up front that can get there, it works. But if you don't have a pass rush against a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, hey, even a Ben Roethlisberger, good luck. Good luck keeping up the man coverage with those receivers. So that's what I was trying to explain to people. I'm like, I get it. Y'all keep saying that Brady is killing our zone. But if you watch carefully, there were also times throughout that game we ran man, and it didn't work. Nothing was going to work against Tom Brady. However, I will say again, I'll repeat myself here, maybe throw some different looks at him. This is the real problem I had. Is they didn't do any type of press. Because you can press out of zone. You can't let these boys run freely, man. That was the issue I had. But the second thing I'll say is it comes down to execution sometimes. It ain't always, they got out-coached and nah. Coaches put you in position, players make plays. Numerous times where the players on the field was making bad plays. Y'all remember that play when Tom Brady had like 12 seconds and he finds Hogan in the back? Mm-hmm. What in the world was Robert Golden doing? And for those who don't know who that is, number 21. He was playing safety in that play to Sean. What was he doing? He never looked at Logan is on this side. He just looks over here. He never looks to the left. Mind you, he was the safety playing on the left side of the defense. So how do you not look at this receiver? See what I'm saying? You can't, that ain't on the coach. That's him. That was individual mistake. Mike Mitchell, a free safety. How in the world does a free safety bite that hard on a play action? Think about that. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but come on, bro. Because even I heard Herm Edwards say the same thing. Free safety, you don't have to bite that hard on the flea flicker because you're expecting your front end to stop the run. You're kind of like, you know, if you know it's a run, you come down and make the play. But you can't bite that hard on that play and let this boy run right behind you. And also, if y'all paid attention to the replay, Brady made a heck of a throw because the other dude, Mitchell, was wide open on his side. But Brady chose to lead his, again, Madden, if you're listening, throw the ball to a spot and allowed old boy to run to it right behind Mike Mitchell. Touchdown. So my point is, man, it just, that Steelers defense is what we thought they were. Plain and simple. When we were 4-5, that's the same defense, folks. The only reason why it looked better, because somewhere down the line when we got on that hot streak, we was getting pressured. From week 11 through the playoffs, the Steelers was leading the NFL in like sacks and I think turnovers or whatever because we were getting pressured. We got no pressure against Tom Brady, and he exposed us. And the last thing I would say, guys, I do not agree with just sending 3. That I didn't like. That's a defensive call that I can look at Keith Butler and be like, why are you only sending 3 pass rushers? That ain't going to work. It's not going to work. Not against Tom Brady. So we got our butts kicked. But, hey, they got to the AFC Championship game, man. And y'all know it. If you think I'm lying, go back and look at every one of them Terrible Towel Tuesdays. And every week I was like, we ain't no Super Bowl team. I still don't know how good we are. I've said it on this show. So I was just, happy to see that, wow, they actually got that far. But I still didn't think they was going to go to this. I didn't think they was going to win the Super Bowl even. Well, I'll take that back. I did say this. If we would have beat the Patriots, I think we would have won the Super Bowl. Because I don't think, I know I'm just being, I guess I'm guessing in my emotion here, but I don't think Green Bay or Atlanta would have beat the Steelers had they beat New England in New England. Nah, I think we would have got the 7th trophy. But we didn't. They lost. And as far as Ben Roethlisberger, I'm going to say this again, because in case people didn't see my video, only thing that pissed me off about Ben Roethlisberger saying what he said is the timing. We don't need to hear you say that right now. 2 days after you lose, that's creating a story for no reason. You could have the conversation with the coaches maybe before the draft. You can come out and announce it if you're going to retire. But I just didn't like him saying, if there's going to be another season. I ain't like that. But at the end of the day, the man has played for 13 years, has had countless injuries. I mean, how many injuries has he had? Even the motorcycle injury that ain't had nothing to do with football. Has been hurt for the last 3 years, has not played 16 games. You got 2 chips. Can we really be mad at him for leaving? But I'm going to go ahead and cry right now because I'm going to tell you Steelers fans one thing. If Ben go, we might as well get ready for a string of no playoff appearances. Unless the only thing that could save us is if we could get a manager, some type of quarterback that can manage that talent around him. Other than that, wow. And whoa, if AB lead, I don't think that's more speculation. I know in my video I probably came off like I thought it was going to happen. I think that's more talk. But don't be surprised, man, because nobody thought they was going to let Santonio Holmes go, even though my man had a little different situation. The Rooneys don't, when they ready to let you go. Remember this, and this will make some of you guys happy, and then I'll go ahead and get Mike on here. I know I'm rambling a little bit. Apologize, guys. Remember this. Y'all remember when Ben Roethlisberger had those allegations? And I know some of you listening are going to be proud of me saying that because y'all claim that I don't never acknowledge that. They was about to let him get up out of there. Real Steelers fans know that. There was talk of possibly letting Ben go when that situation happened. So the Rooneys, they will get you up out of there when, they don't feel like you are the best representation of their brand, or if you acting like you're not a team guy. So wouldn't shock me if there was some issues with Antonio. But I don't think it is, man. I think they're gonna work things out. He'll be back, and I think Ben will be back as well. I think that was the emotion that got him. But I think you look at what you're getting back next year. Most of the offense is back, if not all. You get Martavis Bryant. They're gonna come into the season favored, along with the Patriots. So I think he'll be back. But anyway, guys, as we wait for PX1Sports, we're definitely going to talk some Madden tonight, man. We're going to talk a whole lot about Madden. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good one because I know Smitty and Mike, I'm sure they're going to have their conversation in regards to the options. So I can't wait to hear that live on air. And just, sim mode and CFM. I know a couple of you guys want us to talk about ratings, the improvement in ratings, what we think that should look like. Shout outs to my guy that's watching us from Australia. I can't remember your name right now, but you know who you are. He wants us to talk about CFM. Do we think they should scrap or basically reconstruct what they have now and go more so of a my league or my GM type of route? So all of that. But we do have Mike on now, and we welcome you in, man.
Rohan.
Yeah. That's him. Smitty got his name. But we got him on now, man, and I'll let you kick us off, man. Anything it is that you want to speak on to get started. What I will request from you, though, if you don't mind, is I'm going to throw a question at you, and you can answer it whenever you're ready. How do you feel? How do you look at things a little differently with Madden after having your conversation and your interview with Rex? Because I sense that from you. I know we've talked a little bit offline, that when you get a different understanding of what they're doing, and when you get a guy like Rex with his transparency, it kind of puts you in a different mind frame. So whenever you're ready to answer that, feel free. But welcome, man. We're happy to have you tonight.
Appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it.
I'm using the mic on my camera, so I just wanted to check. It's funny you bring that up because I was actually gonna add a question for you guys, and it's kind of along the same lines as. And I kind of started this before I really started, interviewing Clint or Rex or anything like that. But I posted something on Twitter about it today, and my question is this: is the sim community a lot smaller than we give it credit for? And are the casuals? I think competitive guys are smaller than the sim community, honestly. But do the casuals care about the same thing that we care about? And is it realistic for us to really expect that all these things that we want are going to make it fully into the game if 60%, let's say, are casuals and they don't really feel that way? You know what I mean? Like, that's the one thing that's really changed is, being a hardcore sim guy, I want Madden to represent real football as closely as we can make it. But,
right.
Rex has talked about, he wants to make competitive Madden look like real football, but then he kind of backtracked on that in my interview, in that he thinks now he's starting to talk about, well, giving us our own game mode to kind of appease us, and competitive guys kind of their own thing. And so from you guys talking to him, you guys have had more access than me. Do we have to adjust our expectations as a sim community on what we can really expect from the game as a whole?
That's a good question, man. Take that one, Smitty. I guess we could set the standard for how the show gonna go because Mike's probably gonna be up with us for the duration. We'll probably just alternate with answers because I know once we all start throwing in stuff, it'll get extremely long. But Smitty probably would share my thoughts, and I'm sure we'll bring Azure in after that as well. But what you think, Smitty, from everything that we've heard, everything that we know? How do you feel about that? Good question there.
I think the answer to that is no. You keep your expectations exactly where they are. The reason why is because, like, prime example, we've had our back and forth about it, but the thing is, the stuff like I've had discussions with you about, I've said to them multiple times. Like when Tiger Woods 14 first came out and I saw that sim mode, I'm like, yo, this needs to be in Madden. Like, this is what Madden needs. You need to have a simulation mode because you got to segment the game. Like, I'm automatically, I thought of, Gibbs and Farles and how they play and all that, and other guys on that scene and how they play. And I'm like, no, you need to have, let them have their mode for that, but then make a mode that truly is going to fully, embody what you have going on in the NFL in the game. And you don't, and you don't have that right now. Like what, oh boy, my man has sent us an article. What's his name? PHTYT on Twitter. He sent us an article talking about Dirt 4. They had a Dirt 4 interview. Like, I'm gonna read this real quick and then I'll pass it along because this says it all right here. It said it in the article, said Dirt 4 will resonate with all players regardless of whether they consider themselves an arcade or sim racing. The beauty is that you can choose exactly what type of experience you want to have and then play the game on your terms. If you want something that's fun and doesn't require in-depth knowledge of automotive engineering and vehicle dynamics, i.e. football, then you can just dive into the game and have a great time. If you love the challenge of Dirt Rally, then you can switch to the sim handling mode and have an experience that is even closer to the real deal than we managed to achieve with Dirt Rally. So they were trying to give that sim premise in their previous game, but now they took it to a whole nother level of authenticity and giving you that sim challenge like that. That's what we're talking about. Tournament guys, you got your arcade, which is your casual level, have your mid-level for tournament, and then have your level for sim. Where this is like creme de la creme of realism. You gotta have that. And that's what I'm saying. You have these other games and other genres that are doing it, like you got NHL doing it, you got FIFA that builds those kind of real world elements into it, but then you got a game in Madden that's just scaling it back, and it's like, no, we can't approach that road. No, it has to be taken. It must happen. And when you got this game, this game and other sim racing games like F1 racing, some guys had talked to us about that, like AJ. He had told us about some of those elements in F1 racing that are like extremely real world, realistic elements. And it's like, dude, that's the kind of detail that Madden needs. Like, we need to have that kind of detail, those intricate details of realism that we hoot and holler about and we love to see when we watch the game on Sunday. But then when we play Madden, it's like, oh no, we can't have that game. We gotta dumb it down. Like, no, it doesn't need to be dumbed down. It doesn't need to be scaled back. We need to push this because this is the stuff that needs to happen. And the thing is, it can all be done in the same game. Like, I'm pretty sure you've seen it. People will say they need to make two completely different games to cater to MUT and everything, and have your traditional game and then have your MUT / draft champions. Like, no, you don't need to do that. Just give the modes that'll cater to those levels in the game, and then have fun with it. Because Dirt, and even in the rest of this interview, they even said they're gonna have their little fun and game joyride kind of modes that you just pick up and play and have fun with. So it's like they're able to do it all in Dirt. So why can't it happen in Madden? Like, it can happen there too. So I'll throw it off to you guys though. Yeah, either you, Sim, or AZ, go ahead.
I got to follow up with that before one of you guys respond.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
does that mean that for us Sim guys, I know Kia like grinds salary cap hard, and I don't understand how he does it. But so I mean, more or less, like, for a franchise guy, if we're only going to sit in franchise mode and just play there, yeah, sure, you can tune it differently and you can give us different things. I understand that. I don't really think that's that hard. But does that mean that we have to kind of give up on expecting the Madden challenge, the tournaments, and just playing a random game of MUD or something like that? Do we have to give up on that kind of mode as being a simulation as we want? I guess more clearly is kind of what I was thinking along the lines of.
Yeah, that's a good question, man, because I think it's going to have to come down, and I'll be brief and then ask AZ to chime in. I think it's going to have to be options because, I watch these guys play. I've been watching it tonight. And again, I always have to say this. People will give me crap about, why do you even watch? First of all, little do most people know, that's how we tell what's really wrong with the game. Because most of the time when we play each other, we're playing in a certain structure, certain things we're not going to even know that's broken because we hadn't tried to abuse it. So when I watch those tournaments, immediately, most of the time, even during it, I'm hitting up Rex like, ooh, it's a problem with that. Oh, we got to fix that. So that's how I really see what's the problems in the game. But as I watch these guys, man, I used to be the type of guy that felt like, well, simulation, it just needs to be simulation. It just needs to be. But part of me has to recognize that it's still a game. And it's like, I don't know if it's fair, and some sim guys might not like this, but it's the truth. I don't know if it's fair to make these certain people play the way that we want to play, because technically that's what we want to do. Now, true enough, like I know Azure says this a lot, and I fully agree. Football is football, and that's how I really feel. Football is football, and make people learn. But looking from a business standpoint, I don't know if they're ever going to do things to where, because we got to think about it like this now. Esports is a business for EA, and I don't see it going nowhere. They're going to make sure that there's at least a segment there that's still, still popular. They're going to keep the same guys. Like, you now know, and I never knew none of these dudes at first, but a guy like a Young Kev or D Jones and a Bugs and all of these dudes, they're like household names. So they're going to make sure they keep these guys around. Jet Still, and actually I met him, cool dude. Problem. And you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure these guys are going to have an influence on the competitive nature. Does that mean it's going to short us? I don't think so, if they go along the route of giving options. So maybe they have they'll call it a CFM style tournament where everything is turned on in the sim mode. I think that's the only way to do it to where they can please everybody. Because I think if they go all the way out with one thing and say we don't like it, or they don't like it, as far as the other crowd, then it's going to always be a problem. It's always going to be them trying to dial things up, dial things down, turn this up, turn this off, fix this glitch, to where if they actually could get their AI good enough to play traditional Madden, and then you have another setting or mode that is as hardcore football as possible, and let the people who want to do that play that, if that makes sense. But it's a tough sell, man, because business-wise, I understand. And we can sit here all day and say, well, other games do it, which they do. And that's the reason why I believe Madden needs to follow the suit of a Dirt, Tiger Woods, NHL, FIFA, all of these games that have the options. I think that's the model. And it took forever for me to say that, to answer this whole thing. I was rambling, but I think the model is to follow what NHL has done, FIFA, NBA 2K, all of these games where you can switch up the game style or what have you. AZ, man, what you think? That's a good question again by Mike, but what do you think about all of that, AZ?
I'm looking at it from the business perspective too, as well, because I can see both sides of the argument. I can see where Smitty's coming from, and I can see, where Mike and yourself are coming from, and I don't think it ever is going to happen like we want it to, because this game serves too many masters.
Right.
And that's just plain and simple. I think there's too many hands in the pot of saying of what direction it should go and where it should be, because honestly, you have the developers who want to do and have their vision and where they want to go with it. And then you have marketing and suits and board members who think that little Tommy, who was 5, should be able to get on the game and access it and be successful. They are never going to turn this game, in my opinion, to where they always have to keep getting younger, in the sense of you want to grow, bring up the next generation of Madden gamers, unfortunately, because like Sim said, at the end of the day, it's still a video game. I can just, and we all can just hope that they continue to appease us as much as possible. And we continue to expect excellence from them from a product standpoint, and that they feel developer and peer pressure from other games doing stuff like that. Like the stuff with Dirt and MLB The Show and NBA 2K, that has to be pressure on Madden as well, because without that, then I don't think they really feel a sense of urgency to continue to move that way. If people are still buying the game, watching these tournaments and supporting serious gaming. But let's just be honest. If we had our own little playground of settings and we have leagues, but I'd like to see a CFM for money. Not necessarily it had to be televised and people be made into TV stars, but let's put up some money and have a CFM and enjoy it that way, and say, okay,
that'd be dope.
Each year, the winner gets $5,000 or something like that. Just for it to be something for us as well, because honestly, some of the dudes that play in CFM in the leagues that I'm in are ferocious general managers, and you don't have that element in
yourself included.
Play now. Yeah. Yeah. I've been known to pull off some doozies of trades. So, I've had 4 first rounders and all that kind of stuff. But, that element is not there. Of course, you can do salary cap and draft champions, and that does kind of make you a general manager. But there's no real element to it of strategy of what if this player gets hurt? How am I going to survive if my quarterback goes down? That kind of stuff. And that element is in CFM. Or, what am I going to do next year to replace him because he's getting older, or, he's regressing because he had a major injury, or things like that. Like that kind of stuff is in CFM, and people really don't get the full breadth of the game just playing play now. Like CFM has depth to it, and it could have even more. Like I saw somebody say something about bringing offensive and defensive coordinators back into the game, and have that play an element too. Because if you look in the NFL, that does play a role into it. Who's your offensive coordinator? What kind of chemistry do he and the quarterback have? Do the players fit the offense? Do the players fit the scheme? And that went on my tangent about I want scheme and chemistry and some of the stuff that they have in MUT to be in CFM, because I'm not saying that I don't want it to be cheesy, but I do want guys who actually have a plan and put together a scheme to be rewarded for that. If you go out and you get players that fit your scheme, you run a 3-4 and you draft that 3-4 end who can stop the run, or the pass rusher, the outside linebacker. And you got linebackers in the middle that are run stoppers. And you had corners on the outside who can play. So I want that to be an element of CFM too, because right now I bet, and I said this on Twitter, if you went through people's roster, you find 4-3, 3-4 all over the defense. People who playing zone schemes with man corners. Not to say that you can't do that. Some players don't fit different schemes, but it's all out of whack in my opinion of how people play. Because I've been in one league, I've been in for 8 years. I got one guy who's won 8 championships. Just, over the span, we have different seasons, of course. But he has the most championships, 8 championships. And he plays man and just patrols the middle of the field. So and that brought me to another point of this week of me saying that if you run around holding Y, to me it should be a sim setting. If you run around holding Y, then your player need to run around with his arms up. All that warping and
exactly.
You're telling him to do something and he's not doing it. So for it to be in a league where we are sim players and we turn ball hawk off, but we still people just run around holding wire and still get rewarded by animation, to me that kind of stuff needs to go, because then it would force you to have timing of when you pressed it or when you triggered that animation, not just run around holding wire because you're in the right space, right place, maybe 3-5 yards away, and you triggered an animation that should have happened 1-2 yards away. That kind of stuff to me has to go. So I don't know, man. I don't ever think we'll get fully there, but we can continue to push them and say this is what we want, and bond together as a community. Because I think that the only reason they really listen to the tournament people is because they're so vocal.
And they stick together.
Yeah, they stick together, and many times you have Sim people, like was said on the show, I think last week, and I think it was maybe Smitty or Sim that said it, go off on a tangent of something that doesn't really mean anything on a 10-minute video of something that, you could have spent 1-2 minutes on, but you spend 10 minutes on it, and now the dev is like, oh gosh, here we go again. So let's, bond together as a community, or just because I left the sim community a long time ago when people began to become nuts about it and sim Nazis. But, let's make our voices heard collectively, even if we are individuals. But collectively as individuals, get some good feedback out there. And I think, we got guys now that do that, as well as ourselves. But, in addition to Mike and Kia and 757 and, the list goes on. But I mean to go too long. But I don't think, like I said, this game right now, it has too many masters. That's why I said I would like to see another company or EA branch off and say, okay, well, we're going to do this on this side, and we're going to do this here, because right now it's too many hands in the pot. And, that you can't, if you've ever been in a car, it's like only one person can drive the car. So if you got people reaching on the steering wheel, the car's going to be all over the road. And to me, that's what it is. I mean, we're going in the right direction. We're just going all over the road to get there. So.
Yeah, man. And definitely, I love, with the way the chat is, because our intention is to just talk about Madden tonight. I'm going to throw it to Mike here in just a second. But I want to spur another topic from what I see in the chat, and wanted to answer Mike's initial question. Azure started to say it there at the end. Yeah, I don't think we should temper our expectations at all, because I think, honestly, the expectations that we all have had has gotten it to where it is, and it's only going to help to do that more and more. I mean, like we all said, I think maybe we should just acknowledge what's happening, but the expectation should be there. I mean, let's keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and who knows? Maybe one day we'll break through. And, the reason why, I will say that it's probably always going to be a need for options. Rex explained it before. I think he has even said it even outside of just saying it with us. Guys in the tournament, they got a guy wide open. It's 25,000 on the line. They are video game guys. So if you watch the tournaments, you see how they play, right? They make the right read. The guy's open. They expect him to catch it. Now, honestly, if 20,000, 30,000, whatever's on the line, I'm expecting them to catch it too. Let's be honest for a minute. We are all men here. I ain't trying to hear no, that's real football. When I got my man wide open and there's 30 stacks on the line and a random drop happens, I ain't trying to. It's as sim as I am. If I'm in that situation, I am not trying to hear it. Now, Smitty or Azure, and them my boys, they neither one of them can tell me, hey, Sim, that's football. I ain't trying to hear that, because that's 30,000 on the line. However, if I'm playing in that mode,
at 30K online, I'm running the same play.
That you daggone right. If it work, I'm doing it, and I'm a sim guy.
I don't blame people for that. I do blame the game for
there you go,
not recognizing it and not having the AI. I mean, true enough, if I make the adjustment and I call the defense to stop it, and it's still not being stopped, but I have the personnel and I'm making the adjustments, then that's on the game. That's not on me. Now, if I'm just coming out in quarters defense trying to stop a HB dive, hey, that's on me.
There you go. So, and It is what it is. Now, if I'm playing in our fishbowl, our sim guys, now we got a setting that we can play in. I would actually accept it more because, and follow me what I'm saying now. I'm thinking now that AI and, physical stature, all this stuff matters now. So technically, it's a real drop. However they figure that out. But if I could tell, it was a real drop. Matter of fact, I ain't even got to, make y'all think too far back. Y'all watched the AFC Championship game. Kobe Hamilton drops a touchdown. Sammy Coates drops a would-be possible touchdown. That's organic. I ain't mad at that. But we talk about the Madden random drops. If I'm playing against Bugs or one of these guys, because I see they're playing now, and that happens, I'm going to be pissed because I know it's a random dice roll. So that's why I'm saying you got to have the options for everybody. Us sim guys will enjoy it if we know we have a game that is, as organic can get, and things happen. The Tony Romo bobbled snap happened.
But wouldn't that be a random dice roll, though? Don't we put too much into that, though, because we know it's a random dice roll? The random dice rolls, if they're based on real life percentages, let's say, Antonio Brown catches, 99% of his passes, whatever the realistic thing is, and that's what his dice roll is. If you just happen to get that dice roll where he drops that 1 out of 100 passes and it happens, that's my thing. Like, that's football. That he could do that in real life. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care how much is on there. $30,000 to play in a tournament, then I might say, okay, now you got a right to complain. But if you didn't pay anything and they're giving you money for free, then you should just suck it up and deal with whatever they put out there. That's my thing. I mean, that's how I look at it. But
that's a good point. See, and that's actually staring me at another topic I wanted to hit later, so we'll come to it. But that's a great point because I've said it several times. As long as there's dice rolls in the game, it's gonna happen. And true enough, man, some of the stuff that we see is not necessarily a flaw. It's exactly what Mike just said. So that's a double negative that's kind of going against our own points. How does a video game make things fully organic? You understand what I mean? Like, because we've seen it. I'm still a fan. I've seen Antonio Brown this season drop a wide open right across the middle. But if it happens in Madden, what are we all ready to do? We're saying it's broken. That's a great point that Mike just brought up, and I'm sure we'll come back to it. But I wanted to get this, throw this to you real quick too, Mike, before I forget. The Real Meal Ticket mentioned this in the comments. He said that, if Madden were to give us a sim mode, probably wouldn't be in 18, maybe 19. And he's talking about, reference to what NHL did. And then after that, he said too many baby steps. Now, I want to address that point, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. We as a community, or just as persons, who are smart, I'm sure we're all intelligent here. Most of us are intelligent. I could tell how you guys comment. I could tell the things that you expect, don't expect, et cetera, et cetera. It's sometimes it's not fair, in my opinion, to say things take too long or things is a baby step. Let me explain to you why. Let's be realistic for a minute. In order for Madden, right now, the way Madden 17 is, what do y'all think? And I'll start with Mike. What do y'all think the time period would be in order for Madden to have that exact setup that NHL has with all of the deep settings? Because it's not just settings. We have to remember. Now you're talking about AI has to be up to par, physics and all of that. Think about how deep NHL slider set is. So my question to all of us, and I'll let the panel answer here. Sometimes I don't think we're being fair when we say things are baby steps because y'all don't know what it takes. Like, we've had the pleasure of seeing some of this stuff on the engineering side. It ain't as easy as we think. You got to think about this. Remember when I said this years ago, if at the point when we all thought Madden was trash, right? Y'all remember what I said like 5 years ago? I said, well, if the game is trash, it's probably going to take that many years to make it not trash. That's just, to me, that's common knowledge. Like, it can't be like that. And Rex has told us 100 times, man, there's so much old stuff we got to rip out. Then we got to rebuild. Then we got to give you new stuff. They're telling us exactly what the process is, but I don't want to go too far off of that. So, Mike, how do you feel, man? Do you think in your mind, like, when do you think that could actually happen? If they were to say right now, we're going to try to duplicate exactly what NHL has. About how long do you think that would take?
Man, that's a multi-layered process. I don't think we're as far away as a lot of people think. We already know deep zones are going to be a big priority. That was one of the things that Rex said they missed on this year. And, my question would be, if they didn't do tackle battles, would that have been something they might have been able to tackle? No pun intended.
Good point. Good point. Good.
So I think we're going to see zone defenses get a major improvement next year. So that is going to fix a big part of the issue. Man defense, I don't think it's broken. I think some of it's ratings based. I saw this on Twitter. I think we talked about it before. Somebody mentioned that a lot of the tight ends have like high 80s and 90s route running, and most of the linebackers are like 60s and 70s. That creates part of the issue that you see. Although, the other part of it is just the animation with the post routes and corner routes, how sharply they break. I mean, that's something I think they could fix next year too, possibly. And we could get really close to what we want to see as far as, organic coverage. So then it becomes, then it just becomes sliders more or less, adding some of the sliders they used to have a couple of years ago. They just need to bring it back. I think they tried to package them all together. I mean, I think 2 years is more than enough time. You got to kind of look at what they've done, right? So they did an overhaul on short zones this year. They did tackle battles. Those are the two major things. And they did a lot of smaller things that weren't as significant. So you're only going to get a few major things every year if you look at it in that context. But at the same time, we don't know what else is coming. Are they going to give us a single player story mode with like FIFA and NBA have? Because if they do, that's gameplay too, and that's gonna be a different kind of gameplay than the 11-on-11 gameplay. So that's gonna take development time away from some of that stuff. If they start working on different modes, I think they could get a base level of it in for Madden 19, but to perfect it, it's probably 3 years away.
Right.
But I don't know. It's interesting as long as we're moving toward that end. If we could get a couple extra sliders this year and improve the deep zones and improve man coverage a little bit, I mean, I don't think this game's that far away. I mean, there's obviously things like strip sacks and stuff like that was in there earlier that they need to work on and refine, but I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say. There's a lot of glaring flaws right now to make it look bad, but they're not things that are impossible to fix.
Right. I definitely agree with that. Smitty, what you think, man? I already know because I'm going to tell y'all right now. I keep telling y'all, Smitty is the historian, the realist, and all of that from this group. Smitty going to put it in perspective. I already know what he's going to say as far as how long he thinks it's going to take, but go ahead and enlighten us, Smitty.
As far as them getting, honestly, as far as the sim mode kind of deal, or you talking about sim mode by itself, or just like total game refinement? You talking like player movement and all that?
No, like if they said, oh, and that's even more stuff. But specifically, if let's say they came out right today and said, y'all know what? We're going to try to do exactly what NHL has in their game from the slider set and different play style and all of that. How long, based on Madden's architecture that we know of, how long would you expect that to take if they were to start on that right now?
Probably, I would say fully refined, at a minimum 3 years. At a minimum. Because...
What you mean, a 3-year plan, Smitty? Another one?
Yeah, no, right? No, because thing is, see, look, what people got to understand is when we see it happen in Madden and all that stuff, well, I mean, not Madden, excuse me. When you look at when we see a game in a more finished state, and then we compare it to Madden, what people got to bring to the forefront is what work was put in that other title before it got to that point, that we can say, hey, how come Madden doesn't have it? Just because you say it's in the same wheelhouse, that doesn't mean that automatically, boom, they could do it just like that. They can't. It's going to take them time to do it. And you got to build, and that's like what you were saying, and like what Rex has said. The funny thing is that some of the things that we were saying beforehand was basically certified by Rex and the crew. We talked about how long it's going to take them time. Just like what you just had said, people said the game was trash. It was this, it was that. Well, if it's trash, it's going to take them a long time to get it there. Even if they scrapped everything and started from scratch, you're still talking about a good between 3 to 5 years you're waiting for. You see what I'm saying? No matter how you choose to look at it, it's all going to take time. And that's why I've been saying the same thing ever since I first went down to that studio. I came back. I said, we want all these things in the game. The devs want all these things in the game. But at the end of the day, it's going to take time. Doesn't matter how mad you get. Doesn't matter how many videos you make. Doesn't matter how many FEA and all that you say. It's still going to take time. Even if 2K got in the mix and made a new game, it's going to take time. Because guess what? 2K is going to have to start behind the curve. And then their game is going to have watch. People, I bet you, if 2K made a football game right now, people would be saying the exact same. All the issues you see in Madden, when they happen in 2K, all of a sudden they ain't going to trip about it. They're going to act like it don't exist. But it's still going to be there. Those issues will be there. All the mess up stuff will be there. And it's going to take them years to build it up and make it happen and build. That's it. That's why I said, but to your point about the NHL, you're talking about at least a good 3-4 years. I would say at least 3 to 4 years, because that's how long it took for NHL to get it. It took them about 3 to 4 years to get that done. You know what I'm saying? And see, the thing is, like I see what my man Mill Ticket has said, that's the beauty of it. There's never a point of it's complete. That's just like with vehicles, like in the auto industry. You didn't see somebody come out with one Corvette and call it a day. You know what I mean? One minivan and they're done. One edition of a pickup truck, and it's a wrap. There's always something more that you can do. There's always more that can be built upon and expanded and elaborated and took to another level of design and handling and intricate detail. That's the beauty of what we're talking about here. So, while yes, we want the game to be better. Yes, we want the game to be clean. And yes, there are other games that do it in a much better way. But, even in EA's wheelhouse, I would love to see the ball physics, which, as a matter of fact, the ball physics were en route to being right there with NHL and FIFA until it got nerfed. But that's that whole patching and tuning stuff. That's why I play the game patch free. But, side note, those sliders that you talked about in one of your videos, Sim, that you spotlighted my man's, I forgot his name, but dude, you spotlighted, take everything off.
Yeah. Hamill, his name is.
Yeah. I played the game on all Madden when you play it on all Madden and it's tuned, that cheesiness still comes through. The all Madden cheesy nonsense still comes through. It comes through and it's bad enough. But taking all the patches and all that off and then playing it on all Madden with his sliders, beautiful thing. So, plus you got all the stuff.
I'll get his name for y'all in just a moment, because he hit me up. He said, "Man, you keep butchering the name every time."
Yeah.
So I'll let y'all know in a minute what the exact slider name is. But gameplay is great.
Yeah.
On all Madden.
That's the crazy thing. So yeah, it does play on point. But no, I would like to see FIFA player movement. If we're going to say the physics, I would even say FIFA's ball physics or even the NHL puck physics in comparison. I would take from those games, give me the atmosphere dynamic of NHL or FIFA, put that in Madden. Really feel the roar of the crowd. You got in NHL, they got the screen shake and all that stuff because of the crowd noise hits you that hard. Like when it's a when it's a very impactful moment of the game, like let's say you're in overtime or it's a late game score and you're the home team and stuff like that. It's like, like when you're watching on TV and the screen shakes and stuff because everybody just erupts in one shot. Like you got that in those games. You have it in there. Yeah, and I think it happens in FIFA as well, but you don't have that in Madden. You don't have that swell up. You don't have that eruption. And we need that in Madden in a major way. And that's why I'm saying that there are always more things that can be done. I just named off several things that need to be done in Madden. One of the main things that Sim always talks about is player movement. FIFA, in my opinion, if you're going to stay within the EA wheelhouse at least, FIFA has bar none the best player movement.
Yes, sir.
Without question. Like, I mean, when I watch basketball and I think about how 2K talks about their ISO motion or, their physics system and how the player movement's supposed to be, I'm like, I look at games and I'm like, you see how Isaiah Thomas creates separation and how he's able to pull his jumpers and all that? If you took FIFA's player movement system, it would be like that. It would be dang near one-to-one. Because when you pull off moves on people, I don't see the suction where dudes could just suction back in front of you. If you get beat, you get beat. And I love that about FIFA. Even PES has it like that. I love those games for that. And that's the stuff I'm like, yo, we need this to be in Madden. Heck, I even say live in 2K. But it needs to be in those games across the board where that player movement is huge. Because if you got a Le'Veon Bell or if I got a Amir Abdullah, I'm taking my guys and I want to see the differential in his movement on the field versus Theo Riddick versus Zach Zenner versus Dwayne Washington. You know what I mean? Like all of those guys, they don't run the same. They don't feel the same. You have that difference in feeling to an extent. You have it in FIFA, but I want to feel that. I want to see and feel that. You know what I mean? It may not be something that people will see on the back of the box necessarily, but you post that stuff in trailers, you see the gameplay and you see people show that raw gameplay and be like, look, this is what we got this year. Boom, 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 boom. It may not be a back of the box seller, but it's something that needs to be in there. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the game. That's how you create, like you just like what PX1 said about the player separation. It shouldn't just come down to this guy's speed and acceleration rating is this versus that guy's speed and acceleration rating, and that's it. No, how is he leveraging his skill ratings to cover accordingly? That means that, okay, if I don't have the blazing speed, I got to play off. He should be, even if he's at a base set, and I say I want him to show blitz. He's going to do his best to drop back as much as he can to keep that defender in front of him, especially knowing the fact that he's not that fast. He doesn't have the speed to necessarily recover. Now think about players when they run, when they're doing their back pedal and then rotating their hips to the inside or outside to try and make that cover against that wide out or tight end. And what they realistically have to do to try and put themselves in front of them, like the angle of pursuit they have to take. You see what I'm saying? And that's a whole nother thing. And enhancing the pursuit, the angular pursuit. FIFA does an outstanding job with it. That aspect of the game needs to be brought into Madden. But see, the problem here once again is the time aspect. It's not going to be copy and paste. I know people are getting in this mind frame that you put in you just copy and paste it, and it's like because they're going to this frostbite system that it's going to be that simple, boom boom, and that's it. I doubt that it'll be like that. I can't say for certain how it'll be because we don't know yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it would take them some time. Like it still probably would take them like a year or two or something like that to get it to that point. But they can. I believe that they would at least be able to lay some groundwork and then build up from there and be like, okay, this is the system we're using, and now we got it built out. We're gonna build it up from there, from what FIFA did. I mean, the only thing I've seen right now from Madden that they would take from FIFA is well, not Madden necessarily, but like the graphical tech that they use in what's the name of the game? UFC and NHL borrow from each other. Like they just use it parallel. But I haven't seen anybody take big time game features and say we're gonna copy and paste this, and have it in the game across the board. Now you have the True Step, but True Step only applied to one player.
Yep.
FIFA True Step applies to all 22 players.
And it
See what I'm
still ain't as
saying?
clean. It ain't as clean as FIFA still.
Nope. Still, exactly. So that's a huge deal, especially when you talk about route running and you got the 2-man animation sequences. Me and Sim, even Rex said it to Sim when, he interviewed him 2 years ago. He was like, I know you guys don't like those scripted sequences to depict that. And I'm like, no, we told him up front. We was like, man, can y'all, from when we first played it, can y'all do something about these sequences, man? Because this ain't, you know what I mean? Like, I understand what you're trying to show us, but this isn't it though. You know what I'm saying? But once again, that's the whole, you're trying to build, you're trying to pull out stuff, but then at the same time, you still got to do something fresh. You got to do something new, and you're trying to appease the need, from what people are demanding for. That's the, between rock and a hard place where Rex is at. Rex and the team are at. It's unfortunate, but he stepped into that situation, and I mean, he's doing a good job for what he has to, basically from what he inherited. So, but the bottom line is, with everything we say, at the end of the day, it still is going to take time for the things to get there that we truly want. But the awesome part that I like now is, from what is going on, is that we're getting a much better game along the way. So it's like, yeah, we still have the eyesores, we still have the issues, we still have modes and atmospheric aspects, and we want the player, like what AZ said, you want the player to feel attached to the field and everything. We want the surface to be live. FIFA, it feels very live, even though you still see the shifts and stuff like that in there, but you could tell that fielding got worn down. You see the pitch get jacked up. You don't really tell that in Madden. Like it really doesn't. You really don't see that environmental impact that you see in FIFA. You see what I mean? So, but I'll stop there though. Throw it back to you guys, or to you, Sim.
Yeah, well, just let AZ chime in. What you expect, man? How long would it take to well, you may not know exactly what they have, but their slider set in NHL is in depth. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you can even stuff for how much physics affects the ball travel and stuff like that. So what would you expect? How long would it take Madden to turn around and be able to take something like that and fully implement it into Madden?
Unfortunately, I'm right there with Smitty.
Oh, AZ.
There you
Sorry,
go.
did you?
There you go.
All right. It would take 3 to 5 years, I mean, I think they could get it done earlier. And this is one of the reasons I'm not fond of them going for the superstar mode, because as PX1 said, that's a different type of gameplay. And then you have to allocate resources to that. And what if that gameplay is not right? Then you have allocate a team to fix the bugs. And that's why, I want to get the stuff that we had right. And the direction that we were going in, because honestly, I loved the beta of this game. I mean, I was in love with Smitty and Sim.
Oh man,
we was exchanging videos out and it was not just because it was new and that we were playing it and other people wasn't playing it. It was because of how it was playing. Yeah, I'm gonna go home, pop in this new Madden just because ain't nobody else got it. No, the gameplay was on point, and that true enough, it could have been more. That's why I every time I go down there, I want to play head to head. I want to know how it feels playing against another person, because I think offline they have it. Like it's almost nailed down. If they stop tuning and patching and doing all this other stuff that messes with it, they're pretty much, in the vicinity to where they could probably throw a rock and hit it, and then just perfect it from there. But head to head, it just becomes another monster. And I don't know if it's because you just have the input of two different people pressing buttons and, internet connection or whatever, but it just becomes atrocious sometimes when in head to head with these animations and dice rolls and situations that come up. So, I loved the game in beta form and I loved the game at launch. I don't think that we're that far away from where we want to be. But with that said, if you start to go in the direction of FIFA and, like you said, you have to allocate teams and resources to that, and that takes away from other stuff. Me personally, I'd rather see corners play differently. Peterson, he's up at the line of scrimmage because he can press. Or Jason McCourty on the other side, he's playing off because he's not really a press corner. Those are two different corners on the same field doing two different things. I want to see the AI game improve, so where I can go and replay and say, "Oh wow, look how he played that," and that's some of the stuff that we was doing from the beta. We were saying, Sim would send me a video. Hey, look how this corner played this route right here. He observes what's going on and he sits on it. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to see, and I want to see route running matter more so. Like, it's not college. I understand it's not NCAA. People are fools and not just getting their ankles broken out there. But elite route runner should matter. I want to see a route runner, lose a DB who doesn't have the great coverage. Think about Julio Jones. The Packers DB was assaulting him, and he still got open. And not only did he get open and catch it, he broke it for a touchdown. Like, that's an elite receiver and route running ability. Like, I want to see that kind of stuff. I want to see my receiver with high awareness. Some people said that it's in there, option routes. But not only option routes, if I tell you to run it out and the defender is sitting at 10 yards, I want to see great route runners run it at 12 yards. Run it at 8 yards because a defender's not going to be able to make a play on me right here. Don't run right where the defender is, and I throw you the ball and it's a warped interception. Like, I don't know. I want to see that kind of stuff fixed as opposed to trying to get a new mode or whatever, what have you. So that's just my
thing. Man. And the next thing, man, we can pass around, and I'll come to you first, Mike, in regards to ratings. I know one guy, wanted us to talk about improving ratings and, how do we feel, what we want that to look like, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, it all starts right there. Like what Azure said, it all starts with the foundation. Y'all remember when we used to always say, we just want a foundation. And we all thought that 16 was beginning to be that. But then when 17 hit, we was like, okay, this is the groundwork. Now let's build. And what Azure is saying, man, is like, now let's make the trenches be the trenches. Ever since they introduced the trench battles, the war of the trenches, now let's take it to the next level to where it's more of a fight. Now let's try to figure out how to make the DB and wideout interactions more physical and things like that. Like, you have to take care of the fundamental stuff before you start adding pieces. And the reason why I say we can chop up the ratings, because in a way, man, ratings definitely drives things, but certain things still, I think, is not going to play out right, even with ratings, if they can't figure out how to make the dice rolls happen more naturally. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but let me explain what I'm saying. Azure said it a week or so ago. Maybe in the trenches, we need 1,000 more animations. So therefore, when the dice roll plays out in favor of the defense alignment or the offensive alignment, visually, it won't look so crazy because it's not that same. Think about it. Y'all all know this. How many times you see the same rip animation or the offensive lineman falls the same way every time? And what does your mind say? Oh, there go the dice roll. But if there were multiple animations, which are actually in game, and this is something I'm going to talk to Rex and them about the next time I see them, there's a ton of stuff in the game that just never triggers. So maybe that's the answer, because the dice roll thing, man, even though I know y'all always hear me say we got to go away from it, that's hard. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know if there is any game that doesn't have some type of dice roll. The reason why 2K looks so appealing to people is because, for one, whether you want to believe this or not, they actually have more two-man animations than Madden. But there's so many of them at times that plays out, it just looks realistic. You're like, oh, yeah, I can see that could have happened. But we all know there's also them animations you see that over and over. So they suffer from the same thing. It's just that I think they do a better job of allowing more stuff to play out so it looks more, I won't even say natural, but it's easier for you to accept it if you're not seeing the same thing over and over and over. That could be the answer, man. What I'm wanting as far as ripping dice rolls out of the game, that's asking a lot. I don't know. Now you're talking about, really diving into the game and ripping this out, putting this in. That could be years upon years upon years. Backbreaker was the closest game that we saw that really had on-the-fly animations, but look at how bad that game was. This is a game that they worked on for like 3 to 4 years, and look at what the end result was. So imagine now if Madden tried to go that route and keep everything else intact. It's just, I'm not an engineer, man. I can't say that them guys are lazy, or it would take a lot of time. But to try to keep it back in perspective with the topic, as I throw it to Mike, do you agree with me there, man, as far as ratings? I think even with all of that, I think the problem lies in the way things play out now versus ratings. Because as much as I do want a better rating system, to answer the guy's question, I want it to be way more traits, multiple traits, like, a la 2K's badges, even, Mutt seems like more traits than normal. I want traits upon traits upon traits. Like, even like Azure said, with a DB, some guys may be better with playing bump coverage. They're good with bump. This is a bump guy. Or this guy is good on short routes. Or you might have a trait that, he takes a gamble. The trait could be called gambler. So, most of the time, this guy's going to sit on a route. So now my offensive strategies are like, I know what he likes to do, set him up via, run or whatever, play action. I know I got him on the short route. Boom, beat him deep. Stuff like that. We need more traits like what they had in Madden 08. They were starting to do something there. But the question is, don't we have to fix the core problems first? AI, player movement, and things of that nature. How do you feel about that, Mike?
Well, even if you go to traits, look at your chemistries and Mutt. All they are is modifications of the ratings.
Right.
It's still the same thing. So you're always going to have your ratings. And that's one thing guys are just going to have to kind of understand. Even if they hid the ratings from you and just gave you traits, there's still ratings there. It's still Dustin, sitting there assigning ratings to them. So that's always going to be there. I like the idea. You bring up like Madden 08. I was just thinking that while you're saying that. Like, it would be cool, to have, well, I don't necessarily know traits for some of these because, if a guy's got 90 press, then we kind of know he's a press corner now. If we're playing against the CPU, we know he's going to press more often. Okay, I could buy something like that. What I'd like to see is some of the traits matter more. Like, so one of the things that I came up with, and I haven't said it to Rex yet, I need to, but, guys talking about they don't want to drop passes on Mutt, right, in these tournaments. So my thing is, well, and I asked this to Rex, and they haven't figured out how to address it. But what happens? What's the difference between an 82 catch guy and a 99 catch guy? If that's the case, you got to have differentiation. So my idea was, if you have traits that actually mean more. So let's say your dice roll happens throughout the game, and you might get your random drop. But let's say a guy like Antonio Brown has 95 catch, but then he's also got a clutch player. And all of a sudden, that clutch player modifies his catch to it's 100. So in the last 2 minutes of the game, Antonio Brown's not dropping that pass if he's wide open.
Right.
That could be a way that you get around it where you can still have real football, but then if you get those guys, you don't want them to drop passes, well, you better get a guy with 90-plus catch, and you better make sure he's got the clutch trick. Otherwise, you're going to take a chance you drop the ball. Then you have something else that plays into the strategy of building your team, and it's something I think, hopefully maybe guys can wrap their mind around, and you can get the best of both worlds. You can have a simulation game, but also one that's not going to cost somebody late in the game potentially. The other thing, and I have been saying this all year to Rex, is animations. The single biggest problem that Madden, in my mind, suffers from what I see people complaining about is just animations. It's the same possession catch animation. It's the same aggressive catch interaction. It's the same, if there was multiples, if you had, 5 or 10 different animations that you can come in there, like you said, you're not going to notice when somebody drops the ball and be like, oh man, I lost the dice roll. It's going to be like, oh man, yeah, that animation looked like he should have dropped that. Maybe he slipped or his position was different or the way the ball came in or whatever, that would go a long way. Now, I don't know how difficult it is. I know they were just at Vancouver. They were recording. They were doing mocap, so hopefully they're going to get some new animations in the 18 and will kind of help that. But you're right. I mean, if you can get more of those animations in, I think it goes a long way. And I think, just expanding the ratings in general as you go. I mean, you go from Tecmo Bowl, we have like 8 ratings, and where we are now, I mean, the medium pass accuracy, short, deep, that kind of stuff, if you could even, spread out defensive linemen instead of just power move, finesse move, maybe they had a rip and a swim and, those different kind of things, which would also help differentiate guys like Dwight Freeney, who, has that great swim move or spin move. You can see different things like that, and you'll get more differentiation. The players will look different. I think that's one of the big things that they need to work towards is right now, and this kind of goes what you're saying about the running back animation, stuff like that. And I don't remember when they did this, but if you remember, I remember back, it was when Tiki Barber was still player, and they were talking about the different animations for running backs. You had your stand-up running backs, your guys that got lower. Right now, too many of the players look alike, feel alike, play alike, act alike. If that gets more organic and they have different animations to make the players feel different, they do different things and stuff like that, then I think that changes the game completely. So, I think that's a combination of ratings, but I think a big part is animations.
That's very true, man. Before I throw it to Smitty, and I know Azure will definitely agree with this. It's just like the drop catch animations. I mean, give me some real drop catches where I'm seeing the guys fumbling with it or do like Sammy Coates did in the game. He drops it and he's looking at his hands, and then I go look at the guys' ratings. Let's just say like you said, some guys are going to drop the ball no matter how good they are. Or Beckham in that playoff game, he dropped a ton. But wouldn't it be better if you had multiple drop catch animations that look realistic, and then it might be a guy that's your 4th wide receiver, and he's always triggering more and more of those because he's just not good catching. That kind of stuff, man, with like you said, it's like I always call it the real illusion, so to speak. That's all video games are. Like, as long as you give us enough illusion that feels realistic, because we all know it's a game and dice rolls play out, just give us enough stuff that fits the situation. There's too many times now with catches that the warping, and y'all know the one I hate the most, when you throw it deep, and then your receiver for some reason says, well, he wins the dice roll, let me turn my back and be a defender. No receiver in the world takes his eye off the ball as it's coming. Just, stuff like that. But what do you think, Smitty? I think Mike made some good points there.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, no, he made very solid points there because, as far as when you talk about drop catch animations, actually, the funny thing is that I like the animations that were done in 2K5 where they had it where, that one catch animation where it's like the ball hits their hand and it's like it's bobbling or what have you, and you'll end up dropping it when they make contact. You know what I'm saying? Like if the defender hits you while the animation doesn't run its full course, It'll be a drop pass. You know what I'm saying? But if they have enough time to bobble, and then they'll bring it in. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they do straight up drop it. But what I'm saying though is that it's beautiful because it'll just tap, and then you got that, like it looks more realistic and it looks more and like I can accept that. I can accept that unless you're going to have a an animation that can be dynamically interrupted, meaning this.
Right.
You got the physics in the game, okay? But see, the thing is, the physics got to take full effect. It can't be just partial. It's got to take full effect, meaning that you got your hands up, you're trying to bring it in. Now, let's say you got the animation sequence, right? You got a bobble catch or whatever, and you're trying to bring it in. You tip with two hands. Now, let's say one of your arms gets took out. It gets pushed out of the way, like somebody's body hits you or whatever, and it takes that arm out. Now that ball should just fall to the ground. The animation, he can still keep trying to tip, but now that thing gone. See what I'm saying? And hits the ground or whatever. Or he's getting hit and he's going down, but the ball, he wasn't able to tip it no more. Like that kind of interruption, I love that, because you think about it just like how it is in FIFA. If I do a spin move with the ball and somebody's leg gets in there and they knock the ball out, right? They take that ball out, my guy's still going to do the spin move. He's just not going to stop and all of a sudden, oh, now it's time to recover. He's either going to get tripped up and probably fall over, or that ball is going to get organically knocked out as it should from between his leg, depending upon his leg positioning when he tried to make the move. That I can fully respect. That's the kind of stuff that we need to have in Madden, where it respects the body at the point of the move made. So like when you're doing juke moves and spin moves and stuff like that, like I don't even like those animation sequences they have for guys getting faked out and stuff. It's like they force you to get faked. They force your defender into a position where he's going to fall over and flail. Take that out and put it in where, I understand, once again, just like with the wideout DB interactions, it's like you're putting something in for the time being, but you need to do something more than that. Do that in the time being, but then evolve it to a point where it's like, yeah, we can move past that, and now we have it where players interact organically with each other. That's what needs to happen. Still have your scripted animations, but what I like instead, just like when Rex had posted on Twitter, I think a week or two ago, we're up here in Canada doing some mocap sessions. What you want to see? And I told him, I want to see wideouts go up, do all different types of catches and things like that. But then I also want to see DBs by themselves go up, doing their own swats, their own, catch attempts for balls and stuff like that. And then in the game, have it so that it's not a scripted sequence. That wideout has his animation, wideout, you got your wideout animation bucket, you got your DB catch animation bucket. Let that ball be on its own. Let them have at it. That's it. You see what I'm saying? And then have the player limbs adjust according to how they try to play the ball. So if I'm trying to play the receiver, then let me play the receiver accordingly in respect to the ball. If I'm trying to play the ball, then okay, I'm gonna go play the ball. But what I mean to close the point is, you see how Backbreaker did it? How players had the ball. And now, of course, you didn't have a punch the ball out button or anything like that. You didn't have a strip mechanic. But the point is that if I'm the ball carrier, they try to reach out and place that ball, according to where they're at. Like they show a level of awareness to what's surrounding they're at, environmentally, and they say, okay, I'm gonna it's clear enough. I'm gonna reach that ball out for extra yards. Now, as a defender, all we did was we input the command to lay the hit on the quarterback. I mean, not quarterback, wide out, running back, whatever. But when they tried to run the ball, and let's say they did that shoulder tackle, right? I mean, they did they tried to truck. You just input the command to tackle. And what your defender did was he would get low. He would try to get lower than the running back. Get lower than the running back and try to take the legs out. He would wrap the legs, or he would try and secure that part of the body according to how the approach was. Like, he would approach the body accordingly. It wasn't, there's only one option or two options, or you got to go for the ride of this scripted sequence, and that's it. You had it organically play out, and that's the stuff we talk about. I want it you have some somewhat organic play going on right now as far as the tackling is concerned, but I want to see it be more of a direct organic interaction with these players. That's the stuff that we need to see going forward in games, and in Backbreaker and these other games, man. So I mean, not in Backbreaker, obviously that's out of print, but in Madden though, we need to see that stuff in Madden. Because, I mean, that detail was so crazy back then. And, I mean, occasionally I pop the game in every so often just to look at these details. And it's just crazy to see that I say I want to tackle, or let's say I want to go for an aggressive tackle. It doesn't matter what the offensive player is doing. It's like that player awareness sense is there. And they're just not going to blindly tackle. Like, if the guy is charging directly at him and they see he's lowered the shoulder, they're not going to dive high. They're going to aim low. You see what I'm saying? They're going to try and get underneath him going low and take them legs out. And I love that. We need that kind of stuff in Madden.
That game was crazy, man.
Yeah.
People didn't play it enough. Like myself, Smitty, Azure, Neff, who's in the chat. I know there were some others. If you had to play that game to really know, it's the equivalent, Smitty, of us playing live.
Yep.
It wasn't the popular game to play because it wasn't the prettiest. The only thing it really had to the naked eye was just the physics. But once you got past that, the honeymoon period faded away. Most people was like, I can't play it. Mm-hmm. But we played that game for countless hours, and I'm trying to tell you, what those guys said about the game doing stuff on the fly, dude, I mean, to the point, and Neff, please chime in here in the chat, to the point to where if you get burnt enough, you'll start seeing your corner back up. I mean, just on the fly AI, on the fly animation. Yep. And when the first time I saw that, I said, wait a minute. Why is this dude? I mean, I just happened to notice it. Why is he playing off of me like that? I said, oh, he gave up 2 touchdowns. The game was crazy. It just wasn't enough, and just to say this before I want to hear AZ's point, the reason why that game was like that, because the way they built that system, they used to do emulation of animals and stuff and how people walk. Like their whole system was built on behavior. And then they had the physics aspect. So that's why a game when they put it in game form, that's why it behaved like that, because that's what their engine was entitled to do. It wasn't a game engine. So I know people will say, well, why can't Madden do that? Because that was their root engine was that. But that's why you didn't see the same things that Madden has in that game. Because on the video game side of things, Backbreaker was so far away. Mm-hmm. But yeah, AZ, man, how do you feel about the ratings and traits and all that stuff, man? AZ.
We lost it.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I was talking, I just didn't unmute it. They got to be fleshed out more, man, because like Smitty was saying earlier, and this is something that we've all stated. What's the difference between Amir Abdullah and LaShawn McCoy? You know what I'm saying? It has to be more than just like Smitty said. He has 91 speed and Sean has 95 speed. It has to be something different because if you hear it talked about in the NFL draft and NFL circles when scouting players, you talk about the player's ability, the ability to do something, their traits, their skill set. So when you have players that have special skills and abilities, you have to be able to mimic that. And unfortunately, in a video game, that comes down to animations. But why not have unique animations? You know, players have unique animations when it comes to touchdown celebrations. I don't see anybody else throwing up that Dez X. So why not have that in gameplay as well? And this is just a little nitpicky thing about me that I want to bring up now that I just thought about that. Why doesn't Madden have triggered celebrations? FIFA has them, NHL has them. And I'm not talking about, like, why can't I just trigger something that's in a list of animations that are in the game already?
Right.
Didn't they have that a few years ago? Like, didn't you run to a certain spot in the end zone and it would trigger the animation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And I'm not saying that was cheesy, you know. I mean, true enough, it looked, I mean, it was fun to do it, but I just want to be able to, like, when I get in the end zone, I'm pressing square and this is going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm going to do the whip or, you know, or backflip or something like that. Like, why doesn't it have a specific set? Yeah, and FIFA has. I mean, you know, you press this and then he, you know, slides onto the ice or, you know, something, whatever, celebration. But that's just nitpicking right there. But back to the topic at hand, I don't know, man. I want to see players be respected on abilities. I mean, true enough, a rating, you have to have ratings in there because it's numerical value, and you have to have tables and stuff. And, you know, the game has to calculate, but that element of that All Pro Football 2K8 and Madden 08 had of this player is a weapon and has these specialized skills. So.
Absolutely, man. And I'm about to send an invite to Neff1. He wants to come in for a moment. And as we wait for Neff to come in, I know the time is flying here. I want to go back to what I asked Mike a little bit earlier. And just to chime in real quick on what Azure said, I hate to be a homer, guys, but listen, I know my team more than any other team. I want to be able to build an Eli Rogers. I don't think I could do that in Madden. Eli Rogers means nothing in Madden. You know why? Because his catch rating is not high. His footwork doesn't mean anything. The way he runs his routes really doesn't mean much. Now, for those of you who, you know, have watched the Steelers, and I'll give you a better one. If you haven't seen the Steelers, you've seen the Dallas Cowboys play. Can we create a Beasley? Can we create Amendola? Or not even Amendola. Edelman. Can you really appreciate Julian Edelman in Madden? You really can't. I mean, they have these little ratings and stuff, but I can't really get the benefit of Edelman, and the reason why he gets on everyone's nerves as far as defenders, and because he's just so shifty and crafty and knows exactly where to be. That stuff you really can't build. But if we have more traits and things like that, maybe you could. You know, maybe you could see the difference in, like, prime example, I just said the two names. Edelman to me is better than Amendola. No knock on Amendola, but I just think Edelman's better. But if you put both of them in Madden, they will probably do pretty much the same thing. The only thing that would matter, I guess, is their speed and maybe catch rating, but you can't get that guy. And Azure always says it as well. You cannot showcase a Reggie Wayne type receiver in Madden. So, but I wanted to come back to Mike, man, while I get Neff in here, and then I guess we'll be pretty close to wrapping up for tonight, guys. But if you could share a little bit of your experience, man, as far as your thought process, more so about how you approach Madden in general, expectations, what you know more about the game underneath after having these conversations with Rex and Clinton. And I know it's been before your interviews. You know, we know that. Everybody doesn't know that. But like I told these guys last week, guys like yourself and NY Kia has developed some pretty solid relationships with those guys. So they hear it from us all the time, man. But what are your thoughts? Like, how do you kind of view things and like mentally when you're even giving suggestions and things after getting that type of inside information?
I mean, well, it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I mean, it's just understanding there's a lot more that goes into it than just, hey, this is my idea, let's put it in. You know, like if you watch that video I did on Twitch with Clint where we showed the plays and he broke down he said there's 40 different blocking schemes in Madden. Nobody knows that. And I guarantee you 95% of people who play it have no idea what any of those blocking schemes do, but they're there. And so we get upset and we scream, this is broken, because we don't see a guy we think should block, but because we don't know the blocking scheme. You know, we don't know some of those things that are under the hood. So, you know, it just stuff like that is some of that. It just kind of basing your expectations off of that. You know, I think I said this before one time I was around. Once I got into, you know, developing websites and I figured out how I sat in front of my computer for an entire day trying to figure out why my website wouldn't look right, and I found out it was one character on one line that threw the entire thing off. I realized, okay, you know, when you've got millions of lines of code in a video game, that when something's not going the way you anticipate it, trying to hunt that down and find it and then fix it. The fix might be easy, but finding it in thousands of lines of code, millions of characters, can be a painstaking process. I'm sure they got different things instituted now so that makes it easier. But you know, I think with a lot of guys, that's one of the things that you got to kind of understand. These guys aren't lazy. You know, they're not competition. Do I think it could push them to think of some things that they haven't thought of before? Possibly, yeah. I mean, that's just a nature of what competition is. Do I think they're going to show up every day at work trying harder to make the best game if they have competition? No, I think they're already doing that. You know, would EA maybe give them more money in the budget? Maybe. You know, could they sell things a little bit easier if they had competition? Maybe. But those guys are not there sitting around the office twiddling their thumbs, eating Cheerios all day, you know, laughing because the game's not great. They want to make the best game, and they're trying to do it. Just working within the constraints they have. It's not as easy as we all like to think it is.
It's a whole lot that goes into it. You're absolutely right, man. And before I bring Neff in, you know, you just have to consider those things, man. It's a lot. Like, and it's always good to have other guys share their thoughts on that. Because like I said, you know, not mainly the guys watching us, but just as in a mass of people. A lot of people seem to think, oh, they're just going to say what they want us to hear. Like, no, we're not. I have no reason to not tell you guys the truth. Like, there's no benefit of me trying to damage control it. I don't work there. I don't get a paycheck from EA. Nothing of the sort. So it would benefit me more to tell y'all the real, because as soon as you found out I was faking, guess what you're gonna do? You're out of here. So it's like, I always like to get other guys to say things so y'all can see that it ain't just us, you know. And now you have PX1. You've heard the interviews that he's done. You've heard the interviews also that on 4 Verticals. And like I told y'all, I actually commented on Mike's on his video. I said, man, Rex always has the same theme. He's saying the same thing all the time. So you know it's got to be some legitimate stuff going on there. And one quick story I wanted to tell y'all in regards to blocking, and I bring in Neff. Clint, like, real subtle. He was real subtle one time in the studio, how he kind of shut me down when I was trying to say something was broken. Let me tell you what happened. So it goes along with Mike's point. You know, he said, okay, Sim, show me the play. So I said, come here, Rex. What happened right here? I mean, come here, Clint. He said, let me see the replay. Now, I was upset because the fullback didn't block who I wanted him to block. Y'all know how it goes. You go on the outside and the fullback or sometimes the pulling guard misses this linebacker or strong safety, whoever, just comes right down. Now, Clint said, all right, I give you that. We need to do better in the targeting system. He said, but let me ask you something. What you doing running outside? I was like, what are you talking about? He said, that's a power. Why are you trying to bounce it outside? Why? He said, go back and look at the replay again. He said, now look what happened if you would have ran inside that tackle. Look at all that green grass. And guys, I'm telling you, it was a clear touchdown. All I had to do was follow the block, and I'm scoring. It would have been about a 70-yard touchdown. Easy. There was nobody in front of me. So he kind of shut me down. I was like, okay, you're right. He said, I admit the fact, yeah, that we could do better with targeting. He said, but you blew that because your blocking assignments was right in front of you. You quick to bounce it outside. And I was like, you're right. So to agree with what Mike said, man, sometimes it's not – some things are obvious and obvious flaws, but there's other things based on scheme. And again, y'all remember what Clint said. It's hard to program common sense. So sometimes you got to follow the play art. Even though he does agree with us that, you know, I would prefer the blockers to have some type of branch out system where the guy crosses his face, you know, get off of his target and get this guy. I would love to see something like that. But Neff, man, I know you wanted to come in for a moment. The floor is yours, man. What you got for us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sometimes there's a slight delay over here. First of all, I want to say what's up to everybody. AG, Smitty, PX1, and
Yep. What up?
Critic. Bunch of Madden FBI agents working forward tonight. But you know, as far as the roster, I know that's all I pretty much deal with, but I don't understand how a lot of people think it's the ratings. Ratings don't have really nothing to do with it. When you throw the sliders in there and then you throw the level of play it's on, that makes the biggest difference right there. Because I could rate everybody to a 1 and they'll still do what the sliders want them to do or the level. Doesn't matter. They just need to put more traits into the game and make them effective traits, not just placebo traits where you think you got a speed receiver, or you think you got a quick cutter or a quick route runner. Those things don't mean nothing if the AI is saying, I'm going to take the game away from you because you've been doing too much. It don't mean anything. And
I know you've said this. I know you've said this to me, but just to share it with them. So you're saying that, you know, the sliders will negate your ratings, regardless of how clean you got it or how perfect you think it's going to play. Once you start fooling with the sliders, and it can, or the level that you're playing on, can disregard all of that, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, I've practiced it, played it, tediously went after it. That's why my sliders are set to my roster, because there's certain things in my roster I'm not going to make overwhelming. If you look at the default roster, and I'm not taking nothing away from the guy that makes it, but almost every player in the defense has an interception. Now, why is that? When a guy ain't picked the ball off in 2 years, played 3 games, but he's got a 70 rating, where'd that come from? So there's no drop-off when it comes to these guys in their – excuse me, man. There's no drop-off. In my roster, there's a – as you know, Sim, because you played them a lot, is a severe drop-off. And I go by actually what they did, not what I think they did. Or I don't go by career ratings, because career ratings mean nothing in a seasonal, you know, CFM. You got to go by what they did. So if Tom Brady had a subpar year, you think I'm going to give him high ratings because he's Tom Brady? No. He's going to get exactly what he deserves that year. But that's the difference between a lot of the ratings is the default roster, you'll see a lot of global ratings on certain spots. And believe me, I've seen them all. And they don't do you any good, because if you lose a 95 corner, you bring in a 75 and he plays just as effectively, what'd you lose? You didn't lose anything.
Right.
That's why the traits have to be completely, you know, they have to be more involved. And so does the way that the strategy of the level you're playing on. It's a combination of everything. It ain't just one or the other. A lot of people think, oh, my sliders made the game better. Your sliders ain't done jack. What makes the game better is how you hold the play and what level you want. Because how many sliders are there out there? There's hundreds of sliders.
Oh, man.
And not one of them really works. It depends. If you have guys that intercept 70, no matter what sliders and what level you play on, he's still going to pick the ball off. But not toot my own horn, but in mine, if the guy didn't intercept, he ain't getting no rating. And they don't just pick the ball off. Now, if they're in absolute position, they will pick it off. If they're not, good luck next time. That's why I think I've had better fun with Madden 17 than any other Madden because it seems like the way I've been doing these rosters, I had more fun watching them play out. They're not perfect. They're not going to change the game. Like I always say, it doesn't change the game, but it is a little more consistent. But if Rex is hearing this, tell him he need to make the editing where you can put everybody at 0, man. There's got to be a way to do that. Because these players are not fun. So anyway, I'll leave it back to y'all. It's been a while since I called, but I just wanted to chime in on the subject that you guys are on, and I'm out, man.
Yeah, man.
Just
thank
being
you for
a
coming.
monster editor myself, I think one of the things a lot of people give Dustin slack for is they look at an individual season and they want to say that should dictate where that person is. What you have to understand about your individual season that you're playing on Madden is that is one season out of a possible 100,000 whatever. If Tom Brady has a bad year, that doesn't mean he's bad for that year. That doesn't mean if he replay that same season, he would be a bad player every one of those seasons. It could have been his one season in 100 where something went wrong and it didn't play out. So as a roster maker, you have to account for that. And, if you're trying to replicate one season, if you're trying to, like I'm doing a 93 Houston Oilers franchise on my YouTube channel I just started. If you're trying to replicate that one season, then yeah, you want to adjust your ratings for that to try to replicate what you saw that season. But if you're doing a Madden roster, you don't want to go too far in one direction because you have to anticipate what that player is going to do the following season. If they have a history of bouncing back, then you got to kind of keep their rating up there, because if they do bounce back and you got Tom Brady rated as an 84 because he had a bad year, you're going to look like an idiot. So anyway, I just thought of that. I know a lot of people rip Dustin for his ratings, and being a roster editor, honestly, I think Dustin's probably done the best out of all the guys we've had in a while. But that just kind of popped in my head. Wanted to mention that.
Yeah, it's a tough thing with the ratings, man, because from playing even with Neff's rosters, which I thoroughly enjoy, the problem that you run into, and he'll even tell you yourself, is what happens is when the next season starts, you get rookies and things in, and it's kind of back to square one. So initially what he is doing is we started off, boom, you have a great season, and then there's no way to really maintain it except for the guys who are still on the team. And a lot of times the confidence and stuff like that and performance can get them bumped back up, so it ends up working. But I do see why guys like Dustin, which is cool, by the way, that he's a good guy. For any of you guys that may know him outside of that, with it again, reaching all of these massive amount of people that are different, like that's a tough sell for them as far as how they should do it. I think the thing that could make it safe, man, is if they could find some kind of way to incorporate the sports science stuff, things like that, or like we said, traits, because then maybe traits could go up and down. Traits could be dynamic, or bring back more emphasis on that dynamic player performance. Remember that thing that they propositioned us with a few years ago? They could have built that out even more. And then now, the way they perform and the way they're playing dictates their ratings. So it's a tough sell, man. And I think, and I could definitely speak for Neff on this behalf, everything that he does is based on how the game is currently built. So if the game starts being built differently, some of the stuff that all of us have discussed tonight, then obviously the way you rate the game is going to be different. So it's crazy. It's a tough call, man. But I will say this, though. I don't necessarily like, and I used to say this even with Ian Cummins, and I've talked to Dustin offline. We're cool, and he kind of knows where I'm coming from. I don't like the global rating. Like, I don't like when you can go look at 13 players in the same position and they all got 50 this, 50 that. It's like there's no separation there. But again, we're talking about hundreds or thousands of players. So I get it from a does it really matter standpoint. Like if a lineman has 50 interception, they're rarely going to, I could see why the corner is cut. I don't like it, but I guess I understand it from a global standpoint, with it being a game. They just try to rate what's important and the stuff that is not important. But I will say this, man, and then, we could go ahead and wrap up for the night. I'll come back around to you guys and see how what you guys want to say as we end. But I will say this. The ratings thing I would like to see them do is, we all said we want traits, but I also would like to see position-specific ratings. Maybe that would be better.
Mm-hmm.
So our offensive lineman wouldn't necessarily have interception. Not saying he can't do it, because like Neff said, if the guy is in position and then he hits his hands, boom, anybody can pick off a ball. I mean, my 3-year-old son, if I throw it to him the right way, he's going to catch it. But maybe the ratings shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Because the more ratings you have in the game is the more chance that stuff can happen. More dice rolls can kick in by accident, or something could be off, and now it has your offensive lineman trying to throw the ball. Weird stuff like that. So I think, maybe if they can move towards player-specific, position-specific, cornerbacks have DB ratings and, footwork and things like that matter. The offensive lineman might have, first step, lateral movement, strength, and, stuff like that really matters to a lineman, and then et cetera, et cetera. I think that would help. But this has been a fantastic show, man. I'll throw it back to all of you guys, man. Anything else y'all want to say? I mean, we can keep going for a while as well if y'all want to. But anything else you want to say, Mike, and then I'll throw it to Smitty and then Azure.
Well, one thing on rating players, we got onto that. Me and Smitty talked about this a couple weeks ago whenever he came on my podcast. And, one of the things about players is when they come into the league, they're all pretty much the same athletically. They don't change a whole lot, right? Like, they don't get a whole lot better with speed. They don't get a whole lot better necessarily with agility. They might improve a little bit with better coaching. But what I would like to see is less of a focus on certain, agility and spin move, right? Like, spin move doesn't change a whole lot. Reggie Bush's spin move hasn't gotten better since he came to the NFL. That was that's like a reactionary type thing. You have all those when the players come in as a base set. Those things are more stuck, trucky, that kind of thing. That's basically what they are when they come in. And then have the things that you actually affect through franchise mode, like awareness. And if you break that down and you have better, like if there's a footwork, if there's a, like agility, instead of just being agility, maybe it's like a foot planting and, and things like that, awareness, play recognition, stuff that coaches actually improve on, technique. I think that, and obviously it's complicated and it's way more difficult. And then you got to make a roster editor and go in and rate all those things. So it's more complex. But I think from, a franchise aspect, everybody wants more realism. I think if you do something like that where you take the actual physical skills and you kind of set them when the guy comes in and they don't change much, but you put more of an emphasis on your coaching staff, and the better coaching staff you have, you can build guys up, because there's certain coaches that are quarterback coaches, certain guys that are DB coaches, like Mike Zimmer. He's a great defensive back coach. You get guys like that, you can bring guys in, you can develop them. Now their coverage skills go up better and their press skills go up better, but yet, their speed is what it is. That's not really changing. I think that would be something that would be really cool to kind of work around that, along with, ratings, the modifiers and stuff like that, meaning more. I think that could go a long way. But again,
oh, what happened? Oh, I think I cut him out by accident. Go ahead, Smitty. I'm gonna bring Mike back in here to close out. But go ahead, Smitty. What else you got for us before we wrap up? You muted. Smitty. Yours is muted. AZ,
Yep.
you there?
Yeah, I'm on.
There you go. I'm
on,
Smitty.
yeah. No,
All
I
right.
just had to hit the mute there. But no, what I'll say is that, first of all, like always, I greatly appreciate everybody that came through and hung out here with us. But really, shoot, it's gonna be, it's a journey to get to where this game is going to be. That's the bottom line. Once you come to grips with accepting and understanding that, then now it's time to it's time to basically work along the road of getting the game where it needs to be, giving the suggestive feedback, making those kind of pushes. Because, I mean, you see it happening in these other respective games and crowds or what have you. We just need the exact same thing, happening in regards of our sports titles. So, I mean, this is the stuff that we're looking, that we want to see happening in our title. So, it's just going to take some time for that to happen. You know what I mean? So, but I said, everybody that came through, hung out, Neff, Majesty, without question, appreciate you all, and it was definitely a lot of fun. I had a great time. So I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, I'll just throw it to AZ. And I'm gonna bring Majesty, but I'm gonna bring you back, man, so you can give your proper sign off and sites and things like that. So I'll shoot you another invite real quick, but go ahead, AZ.
No, man, just to echo what Smitty said, man. Appreciate everybody coming out, and let's continue to have these discussions. As we know that, it's going to get dry soon, but the game is being worked on, and we know that we'll get a chance to, get hands-on experience with it from now until about August. And let's keep the feedback going and coming, and still participate in these shows and keep saying stuff that we want to see, because, like has been said before. Sim said, he suggested something late in the cycle, and he was able to get that feature in the game. So
formation subs.
Yeah. I mean, so you never know. So let's just keep pushing. One of the things, and shout out to Caleb, he brought this to my mind, is edit draft class, man, because I had a task on my hands getting the classes in the game, man. It's so tedious to do it from the console. So we need that, software or website, a team builder that NCAA had to be able to do draft classes to give us that extra layer of CFM, man. But, thanks to everybody. And, keep participating, man. We look forward to seeing y'all next week in Pro Bowl, Super Bowl aftermath. Yeah,
man. I'm waiting for Mike to come back in. I'll give it a few minutes. In case he doesn't, I think, I'll go ahead and give him a quick sound off. I mean, I think most of you guys know who he is, PX1Sports. He's on YouTube. He's on Twitch as well. Definitely check him out. For you guys who are going to hear this in the archives, I recommend he did some recent interviews with Rex as well as Clint. The one with Clint is phenomenal because they're breaking down actual plays. A lot of the things that we thought were bugs or might even be bugs, Clint illustrates things that he would like to improve. He goes up on that. He talks about different types of blocking schemes. It's a good listen and a good watch, actually, because you can see it. That's on his Twitch, I believe, and it might even also be on his YouTube, as well as the one with Rex. I mean, Rex just being open and transparent, I think is good for you guys to keep hearing the message. For, let's be honest, for one reason, to be informed, but for two, these are things that we can hold them accountable to, like we do. It's stuff that they've told us over the years that has made it, and there's some things that just didn't make it, and we stay on them about it. Like, hey, man, this is something that y'all was saying. So constructive feedback in that regard. And the only other message I have, man, before we wrap up here, I see, I'm not even going to say the name, but he probably will know who he is. It's a certain guy or certain people sometimes that come into these show every week, and they're like negative Nancy. They don't agree with nothing. They don't agree with anything that the Madden guys are doing. They don't agree with nothing that we're saying. Answer this question for me. Why are you still coming? Why are you still coming to listen? I can't do that. If I ain't really feeling something, I can't just stay there. It's just, I gotta say it, man. I mean, this is all fun and games. It's not a big deal. I'm just saying, like, good Lord. Why is it always negative Nancy? I mean, most of the people in this call, in this chat, we're all on the same page. Like, man, we don't like certain things, or certain things we want changed, but everybody is here to improve. But some of you guys, and like I said, this one person, I'm sure he knows who he is. He's probably going to write, he's probably going to realize that he fits the shoes I'm talking about. and you never offer anything. You never offer suggestions or anything. You just come in to complain. Why? Like, is this entertaining to you? Or, I mean, do you like to vomit? Do you like to be sick and throw up? Like, since this stuff is just, I don't get it. It's confusing to me, man. You know, as grown men, we have to be better than that. You know, I'm assuming that this guy is a grown person, even if you're a young teen. Let some OGs school you real quick. This ain't got nothing to do with gaming. But don't waste your time with stuff that you don't care about or that stuff that you don't really like or support. Or if you do, stop fronting. You know, if you're really just trying to stick out, stop fronting. If you down, you down. If you're not, fam, come on, man. Don't do that to yourself, because you're going to have a miserable life. Because I've said this for years upon years. What people do on social media is how they really are. That's your real personality. So that's a character. That's your character. So don't be a lame. Don't do that. It is what it is. Y'all know sometimes I got to tell y'all the truth, man. But that's all we got for you guys, man. I mean, there's no Super Bowl this week. Next week we'll talk about who we think was gonna win and why, and you know we'll take our semi, you know, like Azure said, we'll take our semi hate for seeing Brady hoist another trophy out of it, and we'll really break down who we think is gonna win and who's not. And then I'll put it out there to you guys again. Give us some topics, man. What else y'all want us to cover? If there's a couple of you guys out there that want to do like PX1 did tonight, want to come on and we have like a panel form, great. We'll be happy to do that. But other than that, man, I guess we'll go ahead and close it out. Great night. We thank everybody for coming through. We thank you for all the support. Stay on the devs. If you got an opinion, you got an idea, be constructive, send it to them. Stop using us as middlemen on Twitter. And the reason why I have to say that is because if you're on Twitter, guess who else is on there? The devs. You don't need to go through us. That's taking too long. Go right to the source. Y'all know I like to use girl references. Don't go through her girl. Go holler at her. If you see her standing there, don't ask her girl, hey, what's her name? Go talk to her. Go to the source. But all right, man. That's all I got. We'll see you guys next week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Peace. We'll be back.
Peace.